With the Sharks returning from the Four Nations break this weekend, what should their end of the season goals look like?
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. If you want to be an everyday, or all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be exploring some of the short to medium term goals for the San Jose Sharks, right? As they get back from Four Nations break here, you have 25 games left before the end of the season. We're going to look at some goals, maybe not official goals, but goals I would like to see from the San Jose Sharks. We're going to look at trade deadline goals, getting Macklin Celebrini the Calder that he deserves, and playing the children, because again, I believe the children are our future. So let's start with a short-term goal, which is literally like 2 weeks away. March 7th, of course, is the NHL trade deadline. It's been very quiet with the Four Nations. We had a lot of action beforehand, but very quiet now. I expect things to kind of start to heat up since Four Nations is now done for the Sharks, this trade deadline. And we've gone through, the normal names of guys who, may be here, may not be here, right? And for Mike Grier, it's still very much, I think, try to get whatever assets you can for some of these players, your Luke Kunins, your Jan Rutta, if somebody wants him. We've gone through the names. If you do want to trade Mario Ferraro, make sure it's a smart decision for Mario. Still try to gather assets, whether it's young players and or draft capital, right? There's really not much in the way of kind of taking on bad contracts right now because of the cap boom that we're going to see, where I think there's not going to be as many kind of quote unquote bad. There'll still be bad contracts, but they're going to be much more kind of, you're going to be able to kind of work around, and with the cap expected to kind of balloon over the next couple of years that we're, with it going into 95.5 next year. And then, basically it's going to be at 110 here in a couple seasons. There's not as much in the way of bad contracts. So, so get whatever you can. But I would also like to see my career be aggressive, right? And see if you can get a piece for the future. And we've looked at some of the guys recently, Keandre Miller, Bone Byram, Noah Dobson, guys who've been kind of floated out there, and guys who would be good fits for the Sharks, right? Because they're still young. All these guys are still, 25 or under, just turned 25. All these guys are still young. They would fit with the needs of the Sharks, right? And overhauling this defense, of course, should be that should be up there this offseason for Mike Grier on his offseason to-do list, is infusing talent into this defensive core. And yes, I know they have some exciting guys coming with Sam Dickinson and hopefully Matthew Schaefer, but you can't wait. You cannot wait, especially with Askarov expected to be the full-time starter, right? You do not want to put Askarov behind a poor defense. I think overhauling this defense's offseason is going to be the first priority. Can you find a piece? And maybe it's not the big game pieces that we talked about. Maybe it's another Jack Thompson type of player, a player who maybe is getting squeezed out in his current situation and is yet to kind of make his NHL impact. maybe it's another piece like that. But can you go out and find something? And I do think this should be a big goal of Mike Greer, right? Is yes, you do want to sell off your pieces, right? But you're still building the team long term. Like this is still a team building exercise. And um, at the trade deadline, if you are trading off pieces, that's fine to get assets to go either draft or trade those for something else. That's all part of the team building process. But I would like to see a little bit of building and not have to utilize like kind of do some heavy lifting this offseason in free agency, which the Sharks are going to have to be active in free agency with one, the holes that they have on their roster, and two, the cap money that they are going to have to spend, which again, you're looking at around $20 million just to kind of safely get over the cap floor. So I would be very excited. Kind of the trade deal. If you trade, the usual guys, your Luke Kunins, Jan Rutta, those type of players, get something back for them. And again, you're not going to none of those guys are going to bring you back a haul, right? But still, every little thing counts. Every fifth round pick that you can either then turn around and add to something bigger, or you use it in the draft, or even draft capital to move up during the draft. Like it gives you something else to do. So go do that. And again, if you trade Mario Ferraro, that's probably your last big piece that you're going to be able to trade. Cool. But get something back. Get something to be that you can, as you continue to build and work towards. So I think that is a big goal for Mike Greer is this trade deadline. Try to get something back. And also kind of help out the Barracuda team, which I know right now they're going through a little bit of a funk. Askarov is hurt. We don't know the kind of seriousness of that. Romanov is also hurt. That sounds like it's a couple weeks for him. So help this Barracuda team right now. You could be active with your AHL trades. If you need to trade some AHL guys, type it that's fine. But be active in the AHL trade as well to get that team ready to go on a playoff run. And hopefully the news is Askarov's okay right now. Again, he left the Wednesday night's game. I didn't get a chance to watch Wednesday night's game. He left Wednesday night's game with an injury after letting in. He just hasn't really looked the same kind of since the holiday. And I do go back, when I saw that he got hurt, and I think about the Oilers. There was a game against the Oilers where he got run into, and it kind of feels like, again, I'm just speculating here. It kind of feels like there's been a little bit of a lingering issue there. So then compounded with him being sick, et cetera, et cetera. Just one, get Askarov hurt, but two, go get some help for this Barracuda team, which I do truly believe can be a good team because I think they're a very talented team. Go get a piece for them. So yeah, I think those are the big goals for the trade deadline is sell off whatever you can, but go find something else. Go find something else of meaning that's going to be a piece of the future for you. So next, we're going to talk about Macklin Celebrini getting his Calder, why that should also be very important for the San Jose Sharks. We'll get to that here in just 1 second. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get on that than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a big fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. There's nothing more exciting, of course, than a Curry flurry in the NBA. When Steph Curry's hot, just crushing threes from halfway across San Francisco. It's super fun to watch. So why not make some money watching Steph Curry do cool Steph Curry things? And when the great thing is when you win, the app is super easy to use. and you get paid instantly. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official bet sporting partner of the NBA. All right, before we talk about Celebrini, getting his Calder, all that fun stuff, do, of course, want to thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. If you haven't, perfect time to subscribe right now as we continue. One, we have games to talk about here soon. Two, we'll continue to have your coverage for the trade deadline, which, again, 2 weeks away. It snuck up on us. So plenty of great stuff coming down the pipe. Also get you ready for the draft. What's going to be a very active free agents for plenty of great stuff here. The Sharks should have a very, very fun summer. So subscribe wherever you get podcasts, or if you're watching on YouTube, hit the little subscribe button, leave a comment, all that fun stuff. Again, Locked On Sharks, we cover your team every day. Okay. The second goal. Right. And the Sharks are never going to say this because, right, it's team success over but can we get Macklin Celebrini his Calder? Right. And Celebrini is the favorite to win the Calder. And we had our conversation, last week with Locked On Canadians, Locked On Flyers. I know when we weren't able to get Locked On Flames, because when we kind of discussed this a while ago, those were, it was Mitchkoff, and it was, of course, Lane Hudson. Sorry, not Liney. We're kind of the main three, and it's Mitchkoff has kind of dropped off. But anyway, Macklin Celebrini right now, minus 320 per FanDuel to win the Rookie of the Year. Lane Hudson 330, Justin Wolf 1500. So he's in the driver's seat here, but he's going to have a big opportunity here in the last 25 games. And I think this break came at a perfect time for him to kind of reset. The most amount of games he's played in a season. I'm sure the wear and tear physically and the wear and tear mentally probably came in the right time for him to just kind of take a nice breather. You got a nice little chunk of games here that you can kind of really focus on and give your all. And Celebrini is right. He is going to be the guy here, especially now that Mikael Granlund has been traded. It's Celebrini is going to be the play driver for this team. And if he can get anywhere close to a point per game, I think he's going to win it here. So just as a reminder of where Celebrini is at, so he does have, pulling it up right now, he does have 40 points in 45 games. So he's got some work to do to try to get to that point per game. But again, we've seen Celebrini pop out multi-point games here. And I think he's going to have a real great opportunity to get that point per game. As a reminder, there's been seven seasons in the NHL of an 18-year-old putting up a point per game. Let's get Macklin Celebrini to number 8, right? Let's get him the 8th one at a point per game. How crazy would that be as an 18-year-old point per game? Lock up the Calder. Let's get some individual success here. I know a couple years ago, right, we had Erik Karlsson win the Norris as the Sharks were the fourth worst team in the NHL that year. Let's get Macklin Celebrini. Did I say the Calder? He won the Norris, right? Erik Karlsson won the Norris. Let's get Macklin Celebrini the Calder. Point per game, and the Sharks be the worst team in the NHL. I think we can thread the needle here. He's going to get all the opportunities. He's going to be on the power play 1. He's going to be playing first line minutes. We've seen the 70s line with Eklund, Toffoli, and Celebrini really click and play very well, produce points. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see Macklin Celebrini get some penalty kill time. We've seen little instances here and there. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see more and more, because I think, again, eventually he's going to be like a 22 a minute, 23 a minute night player, a guy who plays in all situations. That's what he's going to be. He's averaging 20 minutes a night, right? 1942 right now. Like, he's going to be one of those guys who just plays a bajillion minutes every night in all situations because Macklin Celebrini is a special player who can affect the game in anywhere on the ice, right? We've already seen it in the defensive zone. We've seen it a bajillion times in the neutral zone with him. His ability to just create transition and drive results there. In the offensive zone, the kid's a wizard. So do whatever you can. If he's got to play more on the power play, if he starts, if the first power play unit starts to kind of come off the ice, keep him out there. Let him rack up some points here. Because he is the best. He is the best rookie in the league. And I know what Dustin Wolf is doing up in Calgary is great. I love Dustin Wolf. I think Dustin Wolf's gonna be a great player, and what he has done for this Calgary team, keeping them, even close to being a playoff team this year, is for a team that. One of my hot takes was I thought the Flames were going to be worse than the Sharks. That looks absolutely terrible right now. I'm an idiot. I've said it before. I'll say again, right? I'm an idiot. I thought the Flames were going to be horrible this season. Dustin Wolf has helped to keep that team in a playoff race that a lot of us, myself included, thought they had no business being in, right? Lane Hudson, what he's doing for the Montreal Canadiens, who I know before the break they really hit a slid, and it seems like their kind of playoff chances are now on life support. And as a defenseman and the way he creates, he's going to be a great player too. I just think Macklin Celebrini is better than all of them. And would it be the end of the world if he doesn't win the Calder? No, because he's got his eyes on bigger prizes down the road. But I think he should be rewarded for the season that he has had. And if you got to pump up some of the scoring numbers, pump up those numbers, rookie. That's fine. But I think his impact in all three zones is just something that not too many other players his age can kind of speak to, right? And again, he is the youngest player in the NHL. You guys know this. You're Sharks fans, right? You know this. You see him. He's made the Sharks must-watch television at times where this team does not deserve to be must-watch television because of just, let's say, the team. But you don't want to miss Macklin Celebrini do something special and be special and have a special shift and just kind of show you glimpses of what the next 20 years are going to look like. Because again, Macklin Celebrini is a special player. So let's get him as Calder, get him that first piece of hardware on what we expect is to be a career filled with a lot of hardware. So let's give him that first one, because you only get one shot at that one. If he doesn't win the Selke 1 year, that's fine. He's got a chance to win that. If he's ever in the MVP conversations, that's awesome. You have multiple years to try to win those. You only get 1 year to win the Calder. Let's get him that Calder. Yeah, he's pretty good. So we're going to finish up by talking about kind of some other on-ice expectations for the team, as the Sharks, again, not expected to do much for us this season. Let's try to figure out some goals for them. So we're going to talk about letting the kids play. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Olympics. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from SelectQuote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets SelectQuote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer a one-size-fits-all policy, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. And if you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage up to $5 million, no medical exam required. and it's more affordable than you think. You get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. So get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. Go to selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started. That's selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. All right, guys. Before we finish up, I want to thank you, of course, for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. When you're done with this episode, go check out one of the other great shows here, the Locked On Network. You have Locked On Fantasy Hockey. If your hockey team needs some help with the playoffs right around the corner, they got you covered there. You have Locked On NHL, where we've been very Four Nations heavy, but we'll get back to every day covering the biggest stories in the NHL, or showing check out one of these shows here in the Bay Area. Locked On Niners, Locked On Warriors, Locked On A's, Locked On Giants. Plenty of great stuff here. The Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. Okay, the final goal for the Sharks is all the guys who are expected to be kind of competitive for NHL jobs next year, right? Shakir Mukhamadullin, who we thought this year he was going to be kind of solidify himself as an NHL player. Jack Thompson. It's been kind of that AHL, NHL tweener season, right? Where he's probably a little bit too good for the AHL, maybe not quite there for the NHL. Thomas Bordelot, kind of in that same spot. We're waiting to kind of solidify yourself. Colin Graff, all these young guys who you think are going to be competing for NHL roster spots next season. I know Askarov, who, right, like he's kind of as weird as to say, it feels like he's a lock. Like I think things would have to go catastrophically wrong for him to not be on the NHL team next year. Like, but anyway, like these young guys who are going to be fighting for NHL jobs next year, just let them play, right? Just let them play. Like they're for the Sharks. If Jan Rutta doesn't come back from his injury this season, like, okay, like Jan Rutta has been a great player in his career. He's 34. Is he going to be on the Sharks next year? I really don't see it, right? Mark Edward Vlasic, who's hanging out and kind of is your seventh defenseman. If he's got to play occasionally, that's fine. But the opportunities should go to Thompson and Mukhamadullin, who you expect to be pieces of your team going forward, right? And guys like Thompson and Mukhamadullin, who both their ELCs expire at the end of the season. And yes, they're RFAs and you have their rights, but right, you want to make sure that you feel confident that these are going to be players that are going to stick around here and they're worthy of keeping around in your organization. So those two guys in particular, like those guys shouldn't basically be in the lineup every night unless it's an injury or it's one of those like your last game is so bad we need to sit you down for a minute and let you like one of those type of scenarios. But then that's going to lead to bigger questions. So those two guys, especially on the defensive end where there's so many questions. And again, you're going to have to revamp this blue line. Like this blue line needs some injection of talent, NHL talent, not just draft talent, like NHL talent. Like seeing if these guys are worthy to continue investing your development time into. So those two guys in particular. And then on the forward groups, right? Colin Graff, who still has another season of his ELC, which is fine. Like, but we fully expect him to be a full-time NHL player next year, right? Second, third line, whatever he kind of fits into, that's fine. But Thomas Bordelot, right? Like, again, you're going to have to start making decisions on some of these guys. Bordelot, who's RFA with arbitration rights in this offseason, like, you're going to have to make a decision on him soon. And I'd love to see him get some time in the NHL to see what he's learned, right? We talked about how his game, I think, is quietly evolved and he's been much better in all three zones. And I do think that he can be an NHL player. And I think he can be a good NHL player. Does that mean is he going to be a Will Smith or a Macklin Celebrini or one of those guys? No. I don't think that that's in the cards for him, but can he still be a positive kind of middle six player for you that like you want to have on your team? I think so, but we haven't gotten a chance to see him play in the NHL this year. And again, I know he missed some time with injury, beginning of the season. It really kind of derailed things for him, but he's played really well on the Barracuda. And I think he is deserving of a call up here. One, to reward a guy who has worked really hard this season. And two, again, that question is Thomas Borlow worth continuing to put your development time into? And that's a big question the Sharks are going to have to answer this season and this offseason because, right, all these players that the Sharks have picked recently, they're going to start making their transitions to San Jose. We talked about yesterday, Kasper Holtzen, Quentin Musty, and Igor Chernyshov. And I fully expect all three of those guys to be in the AHL next year. And you look at some of the other AHL guys, right? Phil Beestead be in the AHL, continue to be in the AHL next year. You have Andrew Podorowski, who's going to, the Sharks have him signed for 2 seasons. Ethan Cardwell, who's going to continue to eat up a big role in the AHL. Like, you have a lot of guys who are going to be taking those big time minutes. And, even guys like Daniel Gushin, who you can re-sign, like you have some guys here that like you're starting to kind of run out of spots. So you're going to have to start to make some decisions on some of these guys. And I'd like to see, are you still worthy of investing into, right? And the stuff that we've asked you to work on, have you actually put your time into it? And have we seen progress from you? So, and what happens when you play in the NHL, right? Do you continue to get better and better? Are you very up and down? Are you a flash in the pan type of player? Like those, that consistency from some of these young players. So let the kids play. Nothing else to lose right now. So yeah, let them play. Let's get Celebrini his Calder Trophy and sell off whatever you can, but get something nice back. Get something for the future back, and not just a draft. Like get a player, a young player who has an opportunity. I think is kind of the best way to put it. So that's gonna be it for me today. We'll be back Sunday night after the Sharks Flames game. It's gonna be weird covering a game again. I've gotten used to the this break here, kind of talking about whatever we want. So so we got a back-to-back, of course, on Sunday, Monday. Nice way to get back into it. So we'll be back for both those games, of course. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Till Sunday night. Bye, friends.